Today on the Morning Edition, a trial after losing a loved one is already tough to endure. A second one even more difficult. But that's what families are facing after yet another trial for a man accused of being criminally responsible for a deadly car crash. We'll share the conclusion of the second trial and what happens next. Plus, Senator Lisa Murkowski addressing state lawmakers in her annual address, speaking on Alaska's future, financial needs, and her stance on a high-profile election bill. We'll break down her speech and what she's saying about the state's fiscal fund. And later, a 4-year-old boy is granted a very important wish, making him a superhero for a day, just in time to save the city and stop a notorious supervillain, which I'm sure the residents of the city are very grateful for. We'll show you the highlights as the Morning Edition starts now. Good Wednesday every morning, everybody. And it is April 1st. So, Aaron, don't fool us into any nasty weather.
Well, the good news is we're not going to be fooling you when it comes to the weather, but we will be giving you more of that sunshine. In fact, we are waking up this morning to one of the warmest mornings that the interior has seen in quite some time. Take a look at this temperature in Fairbanks, coming in at 16 degrees. We are seeing those temperatures throughout the entirety of the night, staying in the teens for a good portion of the interior. So we are seeing these warmer conditions that we've been talking about. Still awaiting that day where we're going to officially climb above that freezing mark. We'll see that chance pretty much each and every day as we'll be flirting with that freezing mark. 18 degrees in Lost Creek, 12 in Delta Junction, 15 in Denali. Now, we do have a handful of locations as you head out towards Fort Yukon and Birch Creek, where we are still holding on to some of those sub-zero values. But the big winner here is those temperatures, considering just how cold it has been for a good portion of the last several months. You can see temperatures today will warm into the upper 20s, possibly some lower 30s. We will see parts of the interior today climbing above freezing. The question will be, will Fairbanks and how much of the interior will warm above freezing as we welcome in the afternoon hours. We're also going to be holding on to those cloudy conditions that we did see yesterday. Those will stick around for today. We're officially at 151 consecutive days with those temperatures at or below freezing, which is still the most since 1972. We are comfortably in second place. If we see 7 more straight days of temperature sitting below freezing, we will take over that 1971-1972 spot. But I do believe sometime this week, if not into the weekend, we will officially climb above that freezing mark. So that is some good news for the interior. Now, coming up on my full forecast, we've also got that slow warming for South Central, bringing highs near 40 degrees later this week. A weekend storm could bring some light snow. We're also going to be watching the return to some rain and snow through the southeast panhandle starting Thursday evening, which will carry us into next week with more active weather. I'll have those details for you in that 7-day coming up.
2 families left devastated once again after a judge has declared a second mistrial in the second case of Dustin Ruckman, the man accused in the 2019 deaths of 2 Unalaska teenagers. The ruling comes after the jury in this most recent trial was unable to reach a unanimous verdict. Johnson Kuhn was at the courthouse when the decision was announced.
It was an emotional day in court, especially for the families of Carly McDonald and Kiara Renteria Haste. This is now the second time in less than a year they've sat through a trial only to learn it ended without a verdict for another time. Prosecutors say Ruckman was driving a pickup near Mount Ballyhoo in May 2019 when the truck went over a steep cliff. The 2 passengers, 16-year-old Carly McDonald and 18-year-old Kiara Renteria Haste, died at the scene. Ruckman told police he was ejected as the vehicle went down while the girls remained inside. Ruckman was indicted in 2020 and initially faced a range of charges, but prosecutors later narrowed the case to 2 counts of criminally negligent homicide. The trial was moved from Unalaska to Anchorage over concerns about finding an impartial jury. Last year's jury spent days deliberating but couldn't reach an agreement. And now this retrial has ended the same way, with a second mistrial after jurors said they were still deadlocked.
Based upon where we currently are in this case, the evidence that has been presented, the arguments that have been made, it is my opinion that there is a manifest necessity at this point for a mistrial, based upon their inability to come to a unanimous decision.
The victims' families were very emotional and declined to comment at this time, as did Deputy Attorney General John Skidmore. Ruckman's defense attorney, Julia Mowdy, was unable to be reached for comment. A post-trial status hearing has been scheduled for April 30th to see where things go from here. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's news source.
The interior is warming up, and while it feels nice, it's also weakening ice on a key Fairbanks waterway. Last Friday, Fairbanks fire crews had to rescue a person who fell through the ice on the Chino River. A National Weather Service hydrologist says river ice can change quickly in these conditions, and thickness can vary from one spot to the next, making any single measurement hard to trust. On the Chino River, that risk can be even higher because warmer water runoff from nearby roads can erode ice from below, and heat from the power plant along the river can also thin the ice. Senator Lisa Murkowski delivered her annual address to the legislature Tuesday. It's the final address from the federal delegation this session. Alaska's senior senator covered a lot of ground in her over 45-minute speech, hitting on what she calls wins for Alaska and what the future of the state may hold. Our political reporter, Will Courtney, has the story.
We get to wake up, we get to work for Alaska, but we also know that's a responsibility and that people are counting on us.
Senator Lisa Murkowski returned to Juneau Tuesday, delivering a speech to a legislature inundated with different priorities. Much of her remarks hit on one major theme: Alaska's future is in an uncertain place.
This is a moment for optimism, and we should take pride in all that's going well. But we should also recognize that this is a time that demands realism.
Alaska's senior senator made national headlines for opposing the Trump-backed SAVE Act. It's a bill supporters say make elections safer, but she says disenfranchises Alaskans.
I strongly agree with the premise that only citizens should vote. The problem here is with implementation.
One topic she did not talk about, the LNG pipeline.
I'm wondering how the Alaska LNG project fits into your work in D.C.
My encouragement to you is to do the homework that you need to do to make sure that this is going to be right, not for one project developer, not just for one administration, but this is going to be right for the people of Alaska going forward.
An issue all the more important with concern over the future of Alaska's economy.
And Alaska will need a legitimate fiscal plan as the federal budget inevitably tightens.
Now passing the halfway point, and with more work than they may be able to handle, Murkowski made it clear the legislature has their work cut out for them.
You're not really approaching the end of session yet, unfortunately. All you need to do is look out the window there and say, okay, we're going to be here for a bit.
Will Courtney, Alaska's news source.
Senator Murkowski also hit on the state of education and how she thinks lawmakers need to move forward with the Rural Health Transformation Program. For more details on that, we have expanded coverage on our website and mobile app. Now to next week's Anchorage municipal election and what you need to know. In-person voting opened Tuesday at vote centers around town, like City Hall, the Lusac Library, and the Eagle River Town Center. Voting centers are open Monday through Friday from 9 to 6 and on Saturdays from noon to 4. This is on top of the more than 200,000 ballots already mailed to registered voters. If you expected a ballot but still don't have one, you can call the election center to get a replacement. In addition to voting in person, you can return your ballot by mail with a forever stamp or use one of 18 secure drop boxes around town. That election concludes next Tuesday, April 7th, and includes half of the seats on the Anchorage Assembly up for re-election, and that could lead to some significant changes in the Muni. Joe Allgood gives us some perspective about what this could mean for the balance of power.
Yeah, let's start with the basics. We've got 12 seats on the Assembly. These are the current members. Each term is 3 years long, and Assembly members are limited to 3 terms, a total of 9 years. Currently, we've got 2 members, Chris Constant in District 1 and Felix Rivera in District 4, who are term limited. So they will not be returning after this election. In addition to that, we've got Scott Myers in District 2, who has decided not to run again, so he's out. And then in addition to that, we've got George Martinez in District 5, Zach Johnson in District 6, and Anna Brawley in District 3, who are all defending incumbents for their seats. Now, we don't have time to go through all the races, so I'm going to zoom in on a few key ones. First, we'll start with District 1. Remember, that is currently being held by Assembly Chair Chris Constant. He's become well known on the dais in his 9 years as one of the more liberal voices on the Assembly. In his stead, our candidates Sidney Scout and Justin Millette. Sydney is generally more progressive and Millette is generally more conservative. So if Millette takes that seat, that would be a major shift for the downtown district. Now we're going to move on to the other more liberal voice on the Assembly. That's Felix Rivera. He's term limited, remember? He's in District 4. That's Midtown. We've got Dave Donnelly running against Janice Park. Donnelly, you might remember from the school board or his time as a state legislator. He's more conservative. Janice Park is generally more liberal. If Dave Donnelly wins that seat, that would mean it's almost a conservative majority on the Assembly. And then finally, we're going to move on to the last race I want to zoom in on, and that's District 3. That is currently held by Anna Brawley. Now, she's not term limited, but she is being challenged by candidate Brian Flynn, who she already ran against in 2023. If Flynn wins, along with the other conservative candidates we've already talked about, that might mean the Assembly would be leaning right, which would be a major shift from recent years. Ballots are still open until April 7th. After that, we'll see what it might mean for Anchorage's legislative body.
The new crop of finalists for the James Beard Awards was announced Tuesday morning, with Alaska getting 2 spots on the 2026 list. 2 Anchorage nominees moved up to official finalist status in the Best Chef Northwest and Pacific category. Nathan Bentley from Altura Bistro and Fire Island Rustic Bake Shop for Outstanding Bakery. Winners will be announced June 15th at the James Beard Awards ceremony held in Chicago. Still ahead today on the Morning Edition, Anchorage is known as being a bit of a base camp for people traveling to Alaska, but there's a lot in Anchorage to see as well, and bicyclists make some of the best views. We'll see how Anchorage won an award for being a trail town after this break.
And we're still holding on to some sunshine across a large portion of South Central. Temperatures continue to steadily warm. I'll have a look at that rest of the week forecast coming up. First at sunrise, 7:21 in Anchorage, 6:24 in June.
Welcome back in on this Wednesday morning. Era, and that sunshine's been pretty nice.
Yeah, we're going to continue to see more of that in the forecast as we head throughout the day. Of course, each day with plentiful sunshine, we have seen temperatures steadily warming. And that's what we're going to be watching this week across South Central, as those temperatures potentially topping out near 40 across parts of South Central. We will be watching storms approaching southern parts of the state as we welcome in the weekend, which will bring a chance for light snow as we welcome in our Saturday evening on into Sunday. Nothing significant looks to occur, but following this dry spell that we have seen, we will see a return to some of that light snow activity. 8 below in Glen Allen, 5 below in Dead Horse. The rest of the state, for the most part, sitting above 0 this morning. 1 degree in McGrath, 10 in Bethel, 16 in Fairbanks, 22 in Kodiak, even out towards the Aleutians. We've got those temperatures sitting in the mid-30s from Unalaska out towards Adak, where we're coming in at 35 degrees. Now, March as a whole officially closed as the coldest on record with an average temperature of 13.4 degrees. To put things in perspective, a typical March in Anchorage ends with an average temperature of 25.8 degrees. So we were about 12 to 13 degrees below what we typically see for the month of March. That kind of gives you an idea of just how cold it was. This was the coldest March since 2021 when we saw an average temperature of 19.2. So if you remember back in March of 2021, we also saw some of those cold conditions. Thankfully, temperatures are finally bumping up across South Central. We'll see those temperatures today warming into the mid-30s, some possible upper 30s as you head out towards coastal areas, and plentiful sunshine stays with us. Hopefully you enjoy that. Now, one thing we're going to be watching as we welcome in the coming days, notice later today on into our Thursday, we'll be watching a low dropping south across western parts of the state. This will lead to some light snow accumulation as well as some gusty conditions for parts of western Alaska. This is a next storm system that's going to be building across the Gulf of Alaska. It's going to bring the return to some wintry mix across southeast. And of course, we'll be watching some snow across South Central. But one thing I wanted to point out in this, the upper level forecast map, as we transition into the weekend and next week, notice this right here. This is a ridge that we have that's beginning to build into parts of the state. So we will begin to see even warmer conditions arriving as we welcome in next week. Not talking about any significant warmth, but we will see those temperatures topping out in the upper 30s and the lower 40s. So there is that storm system building into southeast Alaska as we welcome in our Thursday evening on into Friday, and that's going to kickstart another wet weather event for the Panhandle. And we'll be watching a chance for some snow across South Central by Saturday evening evening on into Sunday. That comes as this system that's out towards southeast decks most of that moisture back into south central. So we'll be watching that chance for some light snow showers as the week draws to a close. We're dry today. We're dry into our Thursday outside of some of those high elevation areas. And then as we close the door on this week and welcome in the weekend, we'll begin to see some light flurry activity with clouds increasing, with the best shot for snow arriving as we welcome in Saturday night on into Sunday. But those temperatures continue to steadily warm, topping out in the mid-30s the next couple of days. Upper 30s look likely into the weekend and early next week. And there is a chance, Kristen, you can see Monday at 39 degrees, a decent opportunity that many areas of South Central over the next week could hit 40.
All right, thanks, Aaron. The trails that crisscross the city of Anchorage have long offered bikers a stunning experience, and the greater mountain biking world is taking notice. Charlie Fellows has the story about the brand new title the city just earned.
Bikers, skiers, and other recreationists come here to Kincaid Park at all times of year to access the robust trail system that stretches across most of the city of Anchorage, making it a deserving recipient for the title of Trail Town.
Anchorage, an official IMBA Trail Town. Cheers.
That title officially bestowed upon the city Tuesday by the International Mountain Bicycling Association in recognition of the length and condition of Anchorage's mountain biking trails.
They have a minimum requirement of 25 miles of trails within a 30-minute drive of town, and we are pushing over 50.
For the city's mountain biking community, the recognition marks the culmination of years of work cataloging and maintaining the citywide network. Members of the community hope it will pay off.
You know, one of our goals is to grow the outdoor recreation economy and to provide tourists an opportunity for one more day in Anchorage, so that when they come to Alaska, they're not just using us as a base camp, but they're actually coming to Anchorage to enjoy what we have.
And it reinforces the mystique that mountain biking in Alaska naturally brings.
We always think of ourselves as a trails town. It's part of our identity. It's what makes living here so special. So it is awesome that the International Mountain Bicycling Association has recognized us with this honor.
I had the chance to bike out to the Knit Glacier a couple times this winter, and it's hard packed, it's riding fast, and when you get out there, you're just in this like fantasy land of ice sculptures, and I was just, my buddy and I were just giggling at every turn we went around. And so the fact that we can get out there, you know, within an hour of home, ride our bikes out 10 miles and go explore these icebergs out in the middle of Alaska you can't do that anywhere else. I mean, that's part of what makes our town so special.
And with potential new additions and revisions coming to this trail network, Anchorage seems set to remain a place where bikers can come to enjoy these trails all year round. Charlie Fellows, Alaska's news source.
And a couple of those potential trail improvements could come via the ballot box, with Propositions 3 and 8 each seeking to allocate money for park facility upgrades. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcasts from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting. Available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's news source app.